Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another new gameplay today. I am Alex Stadnick, Game Informer's largest video editor. Joined with me today, the incomparable Marcus Stewart.
Hello, I'm Game Informer's most medium-sized editor.
Indeed he is. And then you know him, you love him. He's top 10% in the world in Warzone. Blake Hester.
What's up, Alex?
How you doing?
Right at the top, excited to check out BioMutant.
So, yeah, we are looking at BioMutant today. The new open world RPG from Experiment 101, correct?
Yes, Experiment 101, published by THQ Nordic.
Yep, and you actually got a chance to go hands-on with this, hands-off?
Hands-off.
Okay. What'd you think?
I think it's cool. So everything we're seeing here is kind of some edited footage of the hands-off event that I got to see last week. And yeah, my immediate reaction was, wow, this looks really cool. It needs to come out already because I've been waiting for years for this to happen.
For real. This was announced in what, 2017?
Yeah.
And
so it's been around for a hot minute.
It's been a minute, yeah. But I'm excited by what I'm seeing for sure.
Is there any specific like lineage to this developer, you know, or are they just like kind of a new double and a half A-ish studio? Do they come from anywhere else? Do we know anything about them?
I don't personally. It feels like I think this is their first project as a team, as far as I know. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah,
sure.
But regardless, we do know it is a smaller team, like Blake said, a more of a double A developer. But it sounds like this has. Wait a minute, that's our logo. That was that was our NGT logo. We have to talk
start drafting up a cease and desist.
Yeah. But, you know, as the years went on, it sounds like this development process got more and more involved and the scope got bigger. And did they talk about that at all with you, Marcus?
Yeah, or at least they kind of went through just a walkthrough of like the different systems and how big the world is. So as we're kind of seeing here, we're kind of slowing down. We're talking to this weird badger looking guy. And they broke down like how the world is divided into like 7 different biomes. As you can kind of see here, we got this nice little panoramic shot of the world. We got to look at the combat. We got some story stuff, which is probably the element that is like probably been showed the least, is the narrative stuff.
Yeah.
And it's basically set in this post-apocalyptic world where it's like this tree of life that kind of, you know, as the name implies, gives life to everything, but it's dying because this oil has seeped into the roots, and so you're kind of trying to save the tree from withering away, as well as getting rid of these like world eaters that are attacking the tree. But on top of that, the game has like a tribe system where there's 6 different tribes that you can ally yourself with. And depending on how you interact with them, it can, like, the story can go different ways. It's not unlike Fallout New Vegas, at least.
Oh, interesting.
What it sounds like, and that kind of encourages multiple playthroughs. I'm like, I'm going to team up with this tribe and see where that goes. As you can see, there's a bunch of different vehicles that you can command, which is also one of the big takeaways I have with this game. Like, you saw the glider earlier. There's a mech suit here that you can find. There's like
awesome
animal mounts that you can get. There's that boat that you saw earlier. There's no shortage of ways of getting around in this game.
That's amazing. And judging from the combat here, it looks super fluid, the way you switch between, you know, swords and your physical weapons and your guns too. Like, it looks great, and like the style of it is very interesting to me. I'm just so curious on how it actually feels to play it. So, and we don't know that yet, but I'm excited about that.
Yeah, like the combat's like heavily based in martial arts. So it's got like a full combo system, and then your weapons also have combos too. You craft your weapons from like different parts. So like they can have different properties, including like elemental stuff like fire and ice. And what's really cool is that you can create up to 5 different loadouts, which includes your like armor sets as well. And you can swap between all 5 of them on the fly at any time.
Oh, wow.
So it saves a lot of time going into menus and stuff. And here's a cool little part where in addition to the giant world, there's an entire underground area as well, like this sewer network that you can explore.
Interesting.
You see him walking around here. And as you saw earlier, there's a bunch of different objectives in the world. They emphasize talking to NPCs is important because not only will it give you missions, but they'll point you towards like kind of hidden entrances to like dungeons and caves and rewards and stuff. And also you just want to talk to them because they're just weird and interesting.
Yeah.
And there's also a system called Aura, which is basically a morality system where they stress is not, it's like not quite good and evil. It's more like light and dark in that, you know, there's a bunch of different choices you'll make through the game. The tribe stuff kind of plays into that in terms of how you interact with people. And then if you talk to characters that have a similar aura, your interactions with them will be easier. And, you know, the opposite's true. If you have someone that has conflicting aura, you can still deal with them, but it'll be just different.
For sure. So I know you said your choices kind of change the game in certain ways. Are there multiple endings to this? Have they said?
Yeah, so they said there's 2 major endings for the main story, but the tribe stuff kind of has its own kind of meta narrative that can conclude in a bunch of different ways depending on like just how you go about dealing with the different tribes.
Okay.
But yeah, the main story has 2 different endings.
Okay, cool. You'd love to see it.
So you saw that little grasshopper thing? We saw it a little earlier. That's called an automaton, and you collect those throughout the game. And basically, they're like a little robot that you can send into areas that you can't access, and they'll find like rewards as well as like even quests for you. And so we just found a rare version of one there. So those are important to kind of keep in mind.
Cool.
Marcus, were you able to get an impression on whether or not this game is set in the CBFDCU, the Conker's Bad Fur Day cinematic universe?
You know, I sent some questions to them. I did not include that one, but I think I can get them on the horn confirmed because I could see that. It almost reminds me actually of like a scrappier Ratchet and Clank in a way too.
Sure, yeah.
The wacky weapons that you have, and then of course the protagonist being this weird amalgamation of like a cat, raccoon, dog, whatever you want it to be.
The fur looks great. I don't think we've called that out yet. There was a close-up of one of the player characters earlier in the footage, and the fur is amazing. This game looks fantastic.
The color palette is great, too. Like, this looks, I guess, no shade absolutely whatsoever, but, like, I wasn't expecting to look this good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, the lighting looks great. The particle effects, I'm here for it.
And I also love the character designs. Like everything in this game just looks so weird. Like look at this big guy here. He's like a big leopard looking guy.
Oh yeah. And it feels like there's a level of I know it's kind of cliche at this point in games, but it's like it feels like there's a level of customization and personalization where I feel like my character is going to look vastly different than like either one of your guys' too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of like when you make a character, you can change the fur patterns and colors. There's a barber in the game that you can go to that can alter that as well. Like you can have like a neon purple looking dude if you want. And you can kind of see like the combat there. Just so Blake, this will speak to you. We'll see it in a second, but this game has bullet time. I know you're a big Max Payne 3 guy.
Oh wow, I do love Max. I'm excited to check that out.
Yeah, this is basically Max Payne 4.
Yeah.
Well, it's about time someone makes it.
There it is.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was thinking earlier, this gets away from the bullet time aspect a little bit, but some of the combat, the melee combat, kind of looks like a slowed down Devil May Cry, like a later entry. Devil May Cry 5, I guess, is an apt comparison. Like, if you just slowed that combat down, you kind of have what we're looking at here. Did you get a sense of how deep that combat was? Or is it just kind of like hacking and slashing?
It depends on your weapon. So what I understand, the weapons all have different combos tied to them, and that like is both melee and guns. So it's almost like depending on what you decide to make, because you can craft anything in the game. Like you'll see later that you can make weapons from different parts. So here's an important thing. So the biomes all have different kind of like environmental hazards to them. Like there's this radioactive zone that you can see, and it's kind of represented in all purple. There's like other areas that are kind of like neon green. So it's like a visual representation of like, oh, this zone isn't great. And you see the little counter up in the thing rising. So like in the beginning of the game, you decide your resistance to certain elements. Like there's radioactivity, there's cold, heat, and I think biohazard's the last one.
Okay.
And depending on how high your resistance is, the longer you can last in that zone. And then, you know, throughout the game, you'll get skill points that you can use to raise your resistances to certain areas, as well as you can collect like armor or even vehicles that can help you traverse through an area. And eventually you can achieve 100% resistance, so you can explore an area penalty free. But for a lot of the game, You can last in areas for a certain amount of time, but definitely not. I almost said definitely not indefinitely, but that sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
But you get the idea. So it's sort of a way of like soft gating of like you can't stay in this area for long, but like the more resistance you get to it, you can.
For sure.
It's funny because like you'll start puking if you're in a radioactive zone for too long.
Oh, yum.
Love that.
Love to see it. And then finally, we got to taste it, a little something new that they hadn't announced yet.
Yeah, so they're going to see in a little bit, but there's a photo mode there. We're going to see it a little shortly, but yeah, this game has a photo mode.
Yay!
Finally. And you saw there a little Ratchet and Clank propeller backpack because, again, this game is all about traversal and letting you have as many ways as possible of moving around. I like that little thing there, that little dash, that little fire square there.
The combat looks awesome.
Yeah.
Holy Jesus.
Yeah. I'm so in on this game.
Yeah.
I like the weird onomatopoeia too, like the weird words that pop up. But like it's not like pow and biff. It's like weird stuff. Like one said like curse the beaver, and you called there and said Beetlestone. It's like I don't know what these words mean.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's the photo mode
right here. It's cool, man.
Oh yeah.
Every game should have a photo mode. It's fantastic. So, well, that was a pretty good look. But if you want a little bit more, we have another side video that shows off the character creator. So be sure to check that out. So, gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.